Greetings, fellow aliens from other worlds and places and things. I'm going to have a nice little relaxing stream while I eat my dinner. I got something nagging my back. I don't know what the heck it is. I'll have to probably turn this music off once I get going because I don't want to get knocked, you know. First, I will set up my stream. While we listen to this wonderful background is music. It's just ad lib, nothing in particular. Just notes from a musical instrument that sound pleasing to the ear. In scientific terms, this is called a signal. A signal is designed to convey information. The information, in this case, is an audio signal, is providing us with some enjoyment whilst I blib blab and eat my dinner. The voice you hear, it's a signal. It's providing you with information. The particles spewing out of my mouth number in the millions. But you don't hear particles. You hear waves, waves of transcendence. It's all over the internet. It's all over the universe. It's all over the world. That's how we discern information, is through waves, not particles. But yet, waves are made of particles. But how can that be? How is it that a particle can be a wave and a wave can be a particle? Okay. Well, a wave is a bunch of particles. Okay. And I'm going to get my my paint thing up here, and you can see some illustrious drawing live as it happens. I got a bitmap here somewhere. Open with paint. Let's see here. This is minimized. Okay, yeah. And let's see. I guess I have a black background. And what I will have to do is stop this music while it's so nice and pleasing to the ear, because there's a slim possibility that it could be muted and whatever. I don't want that to happen. Oh, I think I'm going to sneeze. I just conveyed to the universe a bunch of particles, and they weren't no waves either. They were a bunch of random particles going everywhere. Well, as it turns out, um, here, wait, let me get this mic over here a little bit better so you can hear me better. And the information is conveyed a little bit better. There we go. Hello. I can't hear myself. Usually I can hear myself, but I don't know why. It's a good thing, right? Hello, hello, hello. All right, let me get this MS Paint up here. Let's see. I'm in my music section here. And I don't see MS Paint. So we'll have to add a window and call it MS Paint. And that's fine. And we'll just do a little bit of manipulating here. And we're going to cover up this whole stream here so that we'll actually. Well, we all know particles are like a bunch of dots, right? Well, wait, before we even get going, I'm still eating my dinner. I'm not going to eat this stuff before it gets cold. And I got this beautiful chocolate milkshake that's got to go down. While I'm having my dinner, and you can hear me munch away, I'm going to draw some pictures here. Oops. Let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not what I wanted. Crap. Oh, that's weird. How come it didn't cover that up? Why is it doing that? Oh, look at the waves! Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. That's the dual nature of particles and waves. All right, we'll try this again here. That didn't work out very well, did it? What is going on? Why can't I do anything? Wow, okay, what the hell is wrong with this stupid program today? No, let me draw the lines. There it goes. Now, of course, I can't get rid of it, can I? There's a few tricks here. All right, so a photon is created when atoms, certain types of atoms, are excited with energy, and they release energy. The energy that is released is characteristic of the atom. For example, sodium. Let's say that heat is created from a sodium lamp, okay? It has a characteristic yellow line. And when particle or something hits the sodium atoms, let's say a charged particle or something, and the sodium atoms become very happy and start having a party. Layman's term. What happens is that um, electrons that orbit the sodium atom, they go up to another energy level. And when that happens, sometimes, a photon is released, or an energy packet. This energy packet is called a photon. Now, light is, by nature, it has all kinds of different colors. Temperatures and such. Wow, this thing is not cooperating with me tonight. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just I need to get my food ate up before it gets cold, you know. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. These are called slits. These slits are extremely narrow. They're like nanometers, or millimeters, or centimeters, or whatever. They're very narrow. And so, we have, say, the picture of the sun, which is over here. And what happens is you've got particles. Okay, so a photon is a particle. First and foremost, a photon in and of itself is not a wave. However, under certain circumstances, photons will act like a wave. In fact, a photon, even by itself, acts like a wave. It's not a wave in and of itself. A wave is a whole bunch of particles. It's a whole bunch of photons. Okay? So when someone says, okay, is a photon a particle or is it a wave? A photon is a particle. End of story. Okay? I will refer you to Richard Feynman, one of the best physicists of our day. He knew all about orange juice. And so, when you have a light wave, even a laser, It puts out thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these little particles. The laser gets excited, the light bounces back and forth inside the laser, and it comes out the end. And a whole bunch of photons come out. Not one. If you had, let's say, a shutter wheel that was in front of the laser output, and it was going at the same rate as the excitation of the laser, whereas the shutter wheel could only let out one photon at a time, okay? This one person on the internet, which I don't know, this is why I'm on here, is because this person really, the person, I'm going to say person, I'm not going to say man or woman, but this person said that there are lies spreading around the internet about the nature of photons and electrons. And this person has a so-called master's degree in physics. And the person wrote a dissertation about quantum entanglement and so on. My qualifications are that I am an electronics technician. Well, no, I'm an electronics tech, what the hell am I? I'm an electrical engineering technician. That's what I got my degree in. And I'm an expert when it comes to electronics. All the way from audio fields up to radio fields, light waves, microwaves, and beyond. And I'm an expert in drinking good drinks. But not tonight. Because this person just pissed me off. And I'm like, okay. I was going to go and reply on the site, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to go on my own stream, I'm going to make a YouTube video in response to this person's video and explain, I'm going to explain this. So what if there are so much misinformation about things on the internet? So what? Who cares? Yes, there are lies on the internet. I found out yesterday that this website was selling a $1,000 radio for $88. And the website said, oh, it's marked down from $349 to $88. It showed a markdown. Oh, fucking bunch of bullshit. There goes my colorful language. And I was, because I'm an amateur radio operator, licensed, of course, advanced class. And I was like, damn, I gotta buy this radio. There's only 400 left. So I was kind of curious. I clicked refresh. And then I said, well, I sent 2 emails. And that was last night or something, to this website people. One of them was called Real Fashion, and the other one was called VIP Apparel or some stupid shit, right? And I was looking up 50-meter transceiver. Oops, I can't put that there. And lo and behold, this transceiver pops up on a fashion website. Not one, but 2 different fashion websites. The same identical type web page with this radio on it. And I said to myself, wait a minute here, something's fishy's going on. I was going to put fake ID card to the transaction to find out who was doing the transaction, but it wouldn't matter. Fake websites can do it, use any legitimate, and collect the money. Number one, I found out that the websites were on GoDaddy. Number 2, I figured out that when you refresh the web page, the number of buyers for the radio kept going down. Refresh, 36, refresh, 34, refresh, 32. And I'm like, okay, this radio is not being sold that often. And I thought, damn, I got to get this radio. They're selling these, it's going to be sold out by tomorrow, you know. They got me hooked. And then I said to myself, I was talking to myself later, I said, if something looks too good to be true, it is true. No, it's false. If something looks too good to be true, it's not true, okay? Don't go sending $80 to some stupid-ass website and you'll never get your money back. Oh, we provide claims and terms and privacy and yada, yada, yada. There was no physical address, no phone number, just a stupid email. And the reason why I brought that up is that I finally looked up some information, and I found out that these websites are called ghost vendor websites. And I found out that there are thousands of them, all preying on suspecting people almost like me. So, don't come across and say this person is lying. Don't come across and say this website is spreading misinformation. Okay? I'm telling you that I got snookered into almost buying a radio for $88 that's worth over $1,000. Yes, it was true that website had to be fake, but I didn't prove it. Okay? I didn't prove it. I'm just saying it's my opinion based on some pretty good observation that I thought to myself, okay, these websites got to be fake. They're just taking your money. When you talk about science and you blat out on your stream, which you've been on for some years, and you've got the degrees and the backing to explain what you're talking about. Yes, if you put filters behind a light source, you can reduce the number of photons coming out. While you say that the intensity goes down, which is true, it does actually limit the number of photons that come out of the light source. And when you look at the board where the photons land, which I'll put a board up over here with this line, hopefully I can do it. All right, so this is like the board where all these little photons are going to land. And we'll color them white, and we'll put down, let's see, we'll just put down dots. I don't know if I can do a dot. Can I do a dot here? So like in the middle, okay, you see some dots here, right? And then maybe you might see some dots over here. And you might see some dots over here. Now, these are not individual photons, okay? These are individual packets of photons. Because, first of all, the photon is so small you couldn't see it anyway. So, another thing that this person explained, they were trying to explain, I'll show you. They were trying to explain Feynman's reasoning behind what happens when you reflect a light off of a mirror. Let's say, okay, so that's a mirror. And let's say we'll use the yellow. I'll use the orange, and I'll draw a straight line. I'll probably have to use a smaller one, right? Use that one. All right, so let's say that a flashlight draws, whatever, it reflects off the mirror, like this. Okay, it reflects off, let's say take a laser and you shine it, okay? And now let me go over here. We'll just put a little flashlight thingy here, right? So what Feynman was, what this person was trying to explain is that the light beam, it comes from a source. Oops, I put a dot there. I got to do this right here. It comes from a source, and it may actually, it may go here, and then it might bounce off and go back over here, or it might. These are what they call, what Feynman explains as possibilities of where the individual photons land, and so on and so forth. They come out in little packets and so up and whatever. So, but they still kind of coalesce maybe at the same point. Now, what this person did not explain was the distance between where these individual photons would land on this board and reflect back, okay? This distance is exaggerated by millions and millions of spaces apart between the photons, which is the same as the dots up there on the right-hand side of the screen. It's exaggerated. The actual distance between those groups of dots is actually a formula, and I'm not going to go into the math on this because I'm just not. There's an angle that comes off, depending on the structure of the atom of the light that's coming through. That distance between the lines could be different. On that, I'm not 100% sure about. But when you look at a spectrum of all kinds of colors, and you look at a certain material, you bounce light off a certain material, it's going to absorb certain colors or reflect certain colors, and those colors have a distance between each other, and that distance has to do with the type of material and what is called the Compton wavelength. And I ain't going to get into that either. However, I will talk about what's called a Fourier transform. If we take this, I hope I explained that about the light, okay? The person didn't explain that these distances were really an exaggeration of the light coming out. So, and the other thing is that there's a possibility. Feynman, what I learned about Richard Feynman is he talked about possibilities, and he talked about you can never calculate at a certain point in time where an electron's going to be on the shell of an atom. It just goes around and it has spin and everything else. But it has there might be formulas, but it's all based on statistics. And so when photons come together and have a party, they interact with each other in ways that are mysterious. We don't understand what happens. And this person who had a master's degree in physics didn't even know the basics of what happens when photons go through these slits. I'm like, okay, you got to be kidding me, right? They weren't even explaining it properly. Or not properly, but they weren't explaining everything. So Feynman claims and more or less has proven that particles come out of a light source and they will reflect off of a surface in different places. So we're not talking about one photon. We're talking about massive numbers of photons, okay? The person explained that Feynman said that the photon took multiple paths at the same time. Well, that's impossible, okay? It doesn't happen that way. What happens is that all of the photons coming out of the light source will take a path that is destined for them depending on maybe the refractive index of the the object that it's bouncing off of, or the refractive index of the air, or whatever. Photons have photons are not randomly chaotic. Photons have structure, just like atoms do. And the structure of the photon comes from the source that it is emitted from. Please, please tell people what is going on with these little particles and waves. If you're a physicist and you've got a master's degree, explain to them that the nature of the photon has to do with the object that it's emitted from. End of story. It is a particle. But when whole bunches of photons are emitted from this light source or from this heat source or whatever it is, those photons will interact with each other because when they come out, they're so close to begin with. And, they're attracted to something. They're attracted to the nature of the source that it came from. Now that should tell you something, okay? If I go back down to this little picture down, I'm going to draw this little red line. Maybe I'll make a dot here, like a middle-sized dot. All right, let's say that my dot, I'll make it bigger. No, let's make it that size. All right, so let's say there's a dot here. Oh, you can't see it. Let's see. Let's go down to this one. Let's see if I can make a big dot there. All right, so there's a dot down there. It's a red dot. It's one photon. All right. And so, well, let's just say it's a packet of photons or whatever the heck it is, okay? It's a photon. All right, so it comes out of the light source. And so let's say halfway between where these lines are, eventually the lines, the lines all come back to the light source. But I left a space in there kind of intentionally, sort of. So let's say halfway between the light source and the lines, the photon is here in this position. I think you can see that down there. And then you've got this, the line. I'll put the line back in there and just draw it in or whatever. So like this is yellow line, and I don't want to really cover up the little photony. Okay, so the photon is on its way to the light, the reflective medium. No, I'll just put another red dot in there. Now, here's this little photon, okay, one photon. This one photon has the information to create the wave that is representative of the source that it came from. Let's say, for example, that this light source is yellow, and we'll just draw a little yellow circle. We'll just say it's like yellow, sort of like there. Let's say it's yellow, okay? And go back to my little red dots again. And so it's going to produce this pattern that's up here on the right-hand side, and it's, whether or not it's indicative of the light source or not, when it reflects off this panel, it doesn't matter. What matters is that when you take the photons and you run them through what's called these slits right here, that will produce a certain pattern, and the distance between the patterns. Oh God, I can't even think of it myself. I'm not explaining this right. What happens with these slits? These slits are like what's called a diffraction grating. A diffraction grating is something like a prism. Light goes through this prism, and white light, and it changes into all kinds of colors. Okay. Well, this light that's coming from this sodium lamp is yellow. It's one color. It's one single color. So when it goes through the slits, it's going to come in and it's going to create this little pattern of dots and so on and so forth. but it's also going to create a line in the color scheme of things. Um, I could I could I could probably let me see here. Let me see if I can do this. I'm just gonna do it freehand. Let's see if I can do it. Oops, that didn't work out very well, did it? Why can't I see the line? All right, well, let's do it this way. Well, that's not gonna work either, is it? Why is the line so small? All right, we got red. I don't know, maybe it is yellow. And then there's green. You know, my color scheme's probably wrong. I don't really care. There's blue. All right, so you got your wave bands of colors, and there's some stupid color in there that there's a photon in there that's not supposed to be there. So we're going to get rid of him. And so then what you got is this is like your band spectrum. Actually, better yet, let me go to black and let me change the line to something like this. And then what we'll do, oh, I can't do it that way, can I? Let's use yes, I can. I can do it this way because you can't see it. All right, so you see a little black, there's like a black space in that yellow section. That's the that's a whole bunch of photons telling you where the photons came from. Came from a sodium lamp. Okay. Now, if you've got all kinds of absorption things happening here, then maybe it's coming from a white light, or it's coming from a star with a different chemical makeup. Hmm. So that's information. So, number one, I'll go back to my little dot over here on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's see if I can draw another red dot up there. All right, so you've got little dots here and whatever. Let me draw. Let's see, a yellow. No. Let me draw a green line. Actually, let me draw a white line. All right, so there's a line here, and then we'll have another line right here, and so on. What I'm doing, what I'm explaining to you, is the distance between the light source and the first dot over here. There's a certain distance, okay? Well, and there's a certain velocity. Let's assume that we're in a vacuum. Photons travel at the speed of light. And there's a distance between the light source and the photon at, whatever. So the further away from that light source that the photon gets, the smaller amount of the intensity, and so on and so forth. But it still carries the information of the light source. So when you put a spectrometer up to a telescope and look at stars, you are getting information that is thousands of light years, thousands of years old. It takes time for that information to travel through space. So that photon is not only carrying information from the light source, it's carrying information from the past. Now, that's pretty cool. That's a cool idea, which it just popped into my head. I'm like, okay. So you got these little particles. All right, I'm going to try to get to the meat of the matter here. And they're carrying information. And they're carrying information of the light source, where it came from, and so on and so forth. Well, how do we how does the photon become a wave? Okay, so when it goes through this prism and these slits, which are called diffraction gratings, they will turn into a line, not not an absorption, but I forget what the reflection or whatever the heck it is. I forget what the other term is. Let's see here. We'll use that one, and then we'll just put this line kind of next to this yellow one here. Not. Wait, yellow? That is yellow, right? Where's my line? Why don't my lines show up? There it is. All right, so there's absorption and then there's a reflection or whatever the other term is. I can't even remember what it is. So when it goes through the diffraction grating, you'll see lines like this. Not absorption because you're not reflecting the light wave off of a material and then looking at the light wave. You're looking at the light wave itself. The particles itself are doing its thing. So how do they actually do their thing? So we're going to draw another green line down here at the bottom, which represents the line that's on the upper right-hand side with those little white dots. And then I'm going to try my best to draw a Fourier transform. It's a big mathematical term of what these little dots are doing. And I'm going to try to do it as best I can here. Okay, we're going to do freehand. And we're going to do this line here. So we go. And it kind of goes on and on and on and so forth. And it does this on both sides. Okay. So, a Fourier transform is a wave, and it has certain properties. We're going to look from, let's see, let me draw another line. I'll draw a white line right down the middle here. This is like a graph, okay? So we're just going to talk about the right-hand side of the graph. So what happens is the particles come in and each particle, each singular photon has all of the information of this entire wave. Now, let's digress a little bit about this. If it has all of the information, if one photon has all the information about the entire characteristic of the wave from the source that it came from, then why can't it just go, draw the line? Because it's not a wave. However, the photon carries the information of the entire wave. How does that work? It works based on statistics. The statistics that is involved is there's certain formulas where the formulas come from the source that it came from, and it has to do with the source of the light, okay? And I can't quite explain it like in layman's terms because it's more mathematical. Let me just go ahead and finish drawing this picture here because we're gonna put these dots in here. All right, so on the upper right-hand side, you got a bunch of dots. Those are, let's say, the individual photons, and they keep coming in. Hopefully I've got white dots here, okay? So you got white dots down here at the bottom, all right? Oops, I drew a line. That's not supposed to be a line. It's supposed to be dots, okay? So the little dots come in, and they eventually, when enough dots come in there, They fill up the area underneath the curve. Um, that's why when you, I'm not going to show you the picture of the actual experiment, but when you look at the photographic plate with the photons, they keep coming in, they keep coming in, and they keep adding and adding more dots and more dots and more dots, and eventually the intensity of the middle one is the brightest. The two on the end are the least brightest, and it goes down the line. Each harmonic is less and less and less. The intensity becomes less. So, again, this has to do with information. Each photon has all the information about the entire wave because when it goes to the diffraction grating, I guess Feynman explains that it doesn't really have a choice. It just randomly goes somewhere. No, that's not true. It does not randomly go somewhere. It randomly goes to a place on the curve that it's supposed to go to. How does it know that? It knows because the particle that precedes it has the information as well. This is where it gets really crazy. And I just learned about this stuff like some years ago. So when a particle, I'm showing my little pencil thing. When a particle goes through, let's say one photon here. We'll do a medium-sized photon if I can drop a dot in here. Let's say, actually it should be an orange one, right? Let's see. Okay, you can hardly see it. I don't know why. What if I do it this size? All right, so you got a photon. It comes from the light source, and it's ready to go through the slit, okay? So what happens when a photon reaches the slit, and the slit, like I said before, it's a very, very narrow slit. It's like nanometers in width and stuff, millimeters. You know, it's really small. So that defines how you can measure the distance between the peaks of this curve. So what happens when this photon hits the slit? Okay, let's draw this orange photon, and it's right in the middle. Okay, let's say the photon is on this side over here. Well, it's going to pick a direction. It's going to pick a direction, and it's going to pick any number of directions that it needs to pick in order to fulfill the qualifications of the curve, and so on and so forth. Let's say that the photon is deflected in this direction. Once it's deflected, it will go in a straight line, like so. And then when it hits this thing, it'll bounce off or do whatever it needs to do, right? It could also, and we'll just change the color here. Let's change it to this color. It could decide to go, and you guessed it. Oops, it's doing a curve. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do it that way. It's a straight line. Once it comes out of this first slit here, it's a straight line, and let's decide it goes through this one here. And then let's say that it just keeps going, right, and it decides that it's going to go here, where these little guys are. It's just this, let's say it's down in here somewhere, you know, all right? It's on the left side. That's one photon. Now, these series of dots is the one photon that came through that slit, okay? Now, I'm going to draw another one. Let's draw it, we'll use it, the white color. This is where it gets crazy, okay? So now you've got this white, the next photon is behind, we'll put it like a halfway distance, okay? It's behind the first one. The first one has already gone through this line down here in the bottom. This was a choice. It's not the real, that's not really where it went. That was just a choice. Where it really went is through the second slit and so on, and it hit the little board over here. All right, so here comes this white photon, all right? And it's behind the first one. Now, they're very close together. They're the photons are really close together because they're in packets and stuff. They're like really close, okay? They're almost like kissing each other, but they're not quite kissing each other. Let's put it that way. This is where it gets crazy. And this is what I discovered like some years ago when I learned about particle physics. I'm an electronics technician. I've got an associate's degree in electronics. I consider myself an expert. And I'm working on a project that has to do with light. I'm not going to get into that. But in order for me to do this project, I have to understand the nature of particles and the nature of waves in order for me to do this project. So here's this white photon number 2. Okay, actually what I could do is I could put like a 1, let me see here. So like, let's change this to red. We'll just put a line here. This is like number 1, okay? I don't want to put too many lines, so it'll get confusing. And then the white one is going to be number 2, right? That's number 2 is the white one. So here's the problem. This white photon, they explained that the photon behind the one that went in first, the photon in behind is able to make a choice. What does the first one do? The first one comes out and it goes in some random place. But the second one is not going to follow the exact path because there's only one path. And that path was the path of the photon that went in through the slit the first time. But how is it possible that the second photon knows not to follow the first path? That is the mystery, okay? Well, each photon has the information of the entire wave. And somehow, the second photon knew where the first photon was going. We're talking about predicting the future, okay? Now, that's not in layman's term. This is something I read some time back. And I don't really understand. I threw that in as a little addition to my stream here. So the second photon is going to go somewhere else along any number of a very large number of paths that it can go to. Eventually, one of the photons that comes out of here, one of the second ones, will land in one of these spots, in these areas that's inside the curve here. This is proof beyond a shadow of a doubt that every single photon that comes from a light source knows all of the information of the wave. It is not it's not that the photon is the wave itself. It is carrying the information of the wave. Now, isn't that nice? Isn't that cool? So, photons are particles. That's all they are. But they are information carriers. And when they get together and have a party, and they're all bouncing around, and they're going to go somewhere, right? When you want to party, you don't stay home. You go out, right? And that's what these babies do. They go out and they party, and when they get done, they end up looking like this curve on the right-hand side of the board. So, how is it that they kind of do that? There are other videos that show the double slit experiment, and you start the double slit experiment with a single slit. This person was doing the slit experiment wrong because, I don't know, it would just bug the crap out of me. Someone with a master's degree in physics can't even explain, the basics of particles and waves. But it's crazy, how the previous particle knows what the future particle knows. The reason is for that is because they have all the information. But how does it know that the first particle took that path, you know? Like it was seeing, maybe it was seeing ahead. Like if you're driving along, you see a car in front of you, right? It has a choice. The car in front of you's got a choice. A blinker, I mean, a light comes on, and a blinker. The car's got a blinker, and the blinker is telling you where that car is going. Okay, so that's predicting the future, right? If you're driving a car and you see a car in front of you, the car says, it signals, okay, I'm going to turn right, and hopefully he turns right and not left. And they could. There's a chance that the person turns the right blinker on and they turn left, you know? And what happens? In a situation like that, there could be an accident. That's like a one in a million chance of something going wrong. That's where chaos theory kind of comes into play and all that kind of cool stuff. So what you're doing is you're actually kind of looking ahead into the future. Your eye is traveling at the speed of light in front of you. You're seeing information that's coming back to you at almost an instant, like it's the speed of light. It's really fast, right? And so the speed of light is these particles are all coming together. They're coalescing in your brain, and they're giving you the information that the light is blinking and that the vehicle is going to turn right. The vehicle turns right, and you may follow that vehicle, but you're not going to follow that vehicle in exactly the same path. You're going to be off a little bit, you know? That's where statistics come in. This is what this is all about. So now, in my project, this slit represents, it might represent, well, yeah, it probably represents a slit. Well, no, actually, I think I'm going to use a pinhole instead of a slit. I've got a reason for that. But anyway, let's see here. Let me go with the white color. And we're going to, so there's two types of light. There's a non-coherent light and there's a coherent light. And so if you have a non-coherent light, what happens is the light source, oh crap, it doesn't look that good. The light source is going to send out these photons in packets that look like this, okay? They're kind of rounded out like that. So all the little photons, you know, they've got this information. They don't know how to transfer the information, so we devise diffraction gratings. Diffraction gratings like a tuner on a radio. You tune it just right, and you can pick up the channel, so on and so forth, or a prism. You know, that's how we're reacting with the light in order to find out the source, what the source of the light source is. That's a non-coherent. So then, if you have a coherent wave is going to be like this. And so, in order to get a coherent wave to happen, you have to have a certain type of lens, and the lens affects the photons. When the photons go through the lens is built in such a way that the photons travel along the crystals to create this type of effect right here. And so, either way, whether they're straight or whether they're crooked, it doesn't matter, because what's going to happen is that these packets of particles are going to come through here as they might come through here as lines and whatever. You know, I'm not really drawing it. They're supposed to be straight lines, you know, and then so on and so forth. I wanted to bring that one up by the slit up there, but I didn't really do it. Then you've got another set of lines, maybe like this, and they're a little bit kind of farther apart. All right. And you get a whole line of photons coming through here. And then when they come through here, they're going to change direction again. They might go up here like this and whatever, yada, yada, yada. All right. so on and so forth. And they're all just going to kind of do this kind of thing. And there's going to be like this space in the middle, which is empty. It's like a void. Well, that space is the space between all the little dots in the diagram. And these are all kind of like intensities. Like more of the photons are going to end up in the center, and they're going to interact with each other, and they're going to talk to each other. By the time they get to the party, they're all going to be drunk and just splat themselves where they need to go. They're going to go to bed. They know where their home is, right? Something like that. I don't know. But it's this whole idea of information, and that was not explained. And I was rather a little bit shocked about that, because when someone commented, and there's comments on the video, and they say, "Oh, this video is so good, you explained it so wonderfully, and this and that and everything else," and I'm like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!" I swear to God, I wanted to cry right there when I saw this video, and like I was gonna go on the video and tell this person, "You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. With a master's degree in physics, and you're saying that a photon is neither a particle nor a wave. Give me a effing break, you know?" And the people that are commenting, like, I don't know who these people are, like just normal people, Maybe some people have an interest, younger people, they want to get into science and physics and stuff like that. That's all cool and that's all good. But when it comes to certain things that have been in existence for 15, 20, or 50 years or more, like the Compton wavelength, okay? This is a known scientific formula that has to do with looking at bunches of particles from a light source, and they tell you what the light source is made of. Now, if you take a light and you bounce it off an object, then the light that's bounced off the object goes into a spectrometer and stuff like that, you can tell what the object is sort of made of or not. It's like a general idea. But if you do it microscopically, like with liquids or with gas or things like that, and you shine a light through and then look at it with a spectrometer, then you can see the lines of absorption or reflection, depending on how you're looking at it. And it will tell you what the nature of the gas or the object is made of. This is not, this is particles that are jumping, that are created by energies that are created when electrons are bounced out of their shell. So when an electron is moved from one energy level to the next energy level on a shell of an atom, it releases this energy. It's like a burst of energy. They also said too, which is kind of odd. They're saying that photons are not matter. They're not matter. They're just pure energy, because they're this reflection of energy from the energy that the energy level change that happened within the atom. Okay, but I disagree with that. Well, I don't care whether it's an energy or what. I think photons have mass. I think they are what they are is they are when the energy level changes in the atom and the electron bounces out of the atom. What happens is, like, you've got all this energy going into this atom, and energy gets converted, a photon of energy gets converted into electron energy, and electron bounces the shell and it releases energy, and then the electron comes out. That electron becomes photon. That's the way I learned it many years ago. I believe it to this day. I believe very strongly that the photon is an electron that has been released from an atom with the energy makeup of the atom that it came from, and it contains all of the information that it needs to tell you, about the light source. It's an information carrier. When we have radios, we have an antenna, and we talk on a radio, and the radio signal goes up to the antenna, and it creates a wave. Well, that wave is a bunch of electromagnetic particles that come off the antenna. They're like um, the atoms on the antenna itself get vibrated at a certain frequency, and at the resonant frequency of the antenna, it becomes a standing wave, and those waves are particles of energy released from the antenna. Now, now you would think, well, eventually the antenna would disappear. You know, if you keep feeding our radio energy into this antenna, you know, eventually you'd think that the antenna would fall apart with all this energy coming off of it or something. You would think, right? Maybe that's why we got rust on antennas. I don't know. But I think they're particles, and the particle that comes off of a radio antenna has all of the information from the radio signal. It has everything. So when you send a radio signal, we're going to go back over here to this yellow curve that's on the right-hand side of the screen. And what we have in the center is what's called a carrier. Okay, and I'm going to write that down. I'll just put down C, W. This is called a carrier wave. It's in the center here. I think it's yellow, not white. And so what we do is we mix another, we come along with, okay, so let's just say that we've got this line here, and it's going in this direction. Okay, this is a line that is moving in this direction. This is called a carrier wave that you tune the radio. All right, and it's putting out a signal. It's putting out a signal, an RF signal. Say it's 102 megahertz. Okay, and so it's sliding from left to right, going across the band until it hits this large peak right here. So what happens in some instances, let's say it's 10 megahertz, not 102. We're talking amplitude modulation. And so it hits this, and then what happens is what's called sum and difference frequencies are created, which is the sum of the carrier and the difference of the carrier and the audio that's coming off or whatever. I can't really explain it that well. All I know is that we have what's called a single sideband, and so this carrier wave, this is also a carrier wave, it comes over here and it mixes with the carrier wave of the signal that you're trying to listen to. And when it does that, what happens is that this, and now you're going to see some crazy stuff here. Let's see here. So you like that. Oh. Where's the thing here? I can't get hold of it. Copy, paste. So what happens is that this carrier wave gets gone. All right? This disappears, and it kind of lands down here on the bottom. It's like at a very low level. It's like down here in the mud, all right? And so what happens is that you've got this stuff between the carrier, where the carrier wave was, and this first harmonic. You've got this stuff in here. And you have this on both sides. What these are the audio frequencies. If you have an AM station, which is amplitude modulation, you will hear the amplitude of both of these signals combined, and it will look like, well, it looks like this. That's like a sine wave. But down here, it looks like this, right? It's just kind of going back and forth. And so now what we have is what's called a filter. And we'll just put a box in there. And so what we do is we take this filter like this, and we filter out all this other stuff right here. So all of this is gone. And then you have another filter that kind of filters out this stuff here. Oopsie daisy. I didn't mean to do that, but, well, whatever. There's supposed to be like a box here. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what the hell it's doing. Yeah, this is like a filter, and it's filtering out all this stuff. So what all is left is your audio signal, and we could say that this is, oh crap, I wanted white. Why isn't it changing to white? Are you seriously kidding me? All right, so this is supposed to be 0 to 10 kilohertz. This is your audio. Now, there's a question. How is this audio signal actually, how does it get there? It comes from the source, goes through space, time and space and whatever, reaches an antenna that is capable, and a radio receiver that's capable of picking up what? The information. It takes this information and it amplifies it. It runs it through a series of filters and cutoffs and whatever, and it takes the upper sideband. This over here would be the upper sideband. It would be USB, not whatever. And then this one over here, this is called the lower sideband. And different frequencies on the amateur radio bands use different sidebands. Some use lower, some use upper. Well, think about this. You've got this carrier signal that looks like the Fourier transform. Okay, it's the same identical thing that's up here. It's just like this radio slits, these slits here in this light wave is acting like an antenna. It's picking up the signal. It's resonating. Well, the diffraction gradient doesn't resonate. It kind of splits, but maybe the first one's an antenna, all right? So it resonates, and then you've got this carrier, you've got all this information. You've got this information that looks exactly like this curve right here. It's down here. Here's this one, and this one. And then it kind of goes off, it's got some other stuff in there. Now the other line is kind of in the way there. Let me just... Oopsie daisy. I just want to move this line. That looks a little neater. So you've got a radio wave that in the end looks exactly, this is the honest to God's truth from everything that I know about electronics and radio communications. I've been at it for 50 some odd years, ever since I was 16. So I know what I'm talking about. This is called a Fourier transform, and it has the information that you need, and then you take the filters and the amplifiers, and lo and behold, you've got an audio signal. You turn on a radio and you hear people talking, you hear the music. It's how my stream started. It has to do with information and signal. Signal to noise ratio, so all that good stuff. So you've got this signal that's coming from some radio station thousands of miles away, and it has information on it. That information is carried by particles, not waves. The particles are acting as a dual nature of waves from the source that it came from. It's the same, it's all the same. Now, when you get into X-rays, cosmic rays, the very shorter wavelength, the particles act less like waves and more like particles. I'm not as familiar with particle wave nature at extremely high frequencies like cosmic waves. They still act like waves in ultraviolet, which is shorter. But when it goes on beyond the ultraviolet into the X-rays and stuff like that, they get a little bit crazy, and they act more like whatever the machines tell them what to do, which is another thing I want to get into. So that's in a nutshell. Photons are a result of energy changes occurring within the source that it came from. They are electrons that are bounced off the final shell of the source, and when they're bounced off at a certain energy level, they become a photon. They become a real particle. That particle does whatever, it's sitting out there in space. It's traveling. There is a force behind that particle. When you have a flashlight, okay, there's energy. There's a lot of energy there. It's projecting those particles forward. Lasers, they bounce back and forth with a lot of energy. They finally come out to ass end, and away they go. They're being projected in a direction away from the source. And we have radios and receivers that can receive radio signals from literally outer space. And they're picking up the same information that's traveling thousands and thousands of years, and they all have this pattern right here. They all have this. Where is this? Where's my yellow thing here? Right here. They all have this pattern right here. Right there. That is the key to understanding the wave nature of photons. Photons are not waves. They are information carriers of the source that they came from. The information that they are carrying results in a wave when it is observed with whatever piece of equipment that you need to use, like spectrometers, radio receivers. They all work on a certain frequency. The photons work with light waves. So with light waves, you use a spectrometer. You spread the light out so that you can see the individual colors. And that gives you more information about where those photons came from. Light is fascinating. Radio waves are fascinating. And most people, 75% of the world's population, could care less as long as the internet's working. It's, whatever. We got people behind the scenes that are doing all this stuff. They're doing the math. They're doing the science. They're building the circuits and all of that stuff. As long as the radio waves come out, we're happy. It's information. And there's a couple of trains of thought. One of them is called chaos theory, chaos and complexity theory. And there are what's called patterns in the chaos. You could have a whole bunch of noise happening. There could be signals in those noise. It's very low. And they're mixed in with the noise. And so you kind of have machines that you listen to it. And you could have artificial intelligence listening for patterns in the chaos. That's a whole nother ball game. But basically, there's what's called noise. And my previous stream, I talked about noise and noise temperature, how to discern signals from noise, the Nyquist theorem, which is the minimum amount of samples that you need in order to get the information that you need that's understandable and usable. That's the key word. Information, not just particles becoming waves or waves becoming particles. It's particles coming together and having a party, and they want to tell somebody something about where they came from. That's in layman's terms, you know. And so you got to have the right equipment to grab those particles to tell you what to give you the information about the source that it came from. So I think that's, oh yeah, okay. So the other note that I wanted to talk about is observing. So on the right hand side, you've got a receiver. You know, it's picking up the information. It's observing the nature of the particles, and it observes that nature in the form of waves. So, but it's telling you, it's the particles are giving you the information it needs to, you know. We have these SDR radios, which is another stream I'm going to do. And so what they do is they pick up the whole spectrum of radio, like from 0 to 30 megahertz. And they will look at all the signals in that noise range, and they'll pick them out, and it's like this carrier that's bouncing back and forth really quick, and it's picking up all the signals and the noise and stuff like that. So it's different. It's the way you observe it, but the observation in this case is at the end. It's the result of all this traveling and transport and whatever happens from, you know, where it came from. The observation is at the end of the line, where the photons have a chance to coalesce, get together, and provide you with the story. Each photon has, this is another really great analogy which I just love to talk about. You could imagine a photon as a piece of a puzzle. Now, if you look at a puzzle piece, that puzzle piece doesn't give you all the information of the puzzle now, does it? Or does it? Okay, in reality, a puzzle piece has all of the information of the entire picture. Because if you go down the rabbit hole, all you're seeing is like atoms, right? If you go back, way back out the rabbit hole and take a step back and see the whole picture, you've got all the pieces of the puzzle get together, and you've got a big source of information that tells you everything you need to know about where the puzzle came from. They're like pieces of a puzzle, but they have all the information of the entire puzzle. Let's see, what else? So, observation and effect. Let's say, over there where I have the number 2 written, okay? Let's say that we have an alien, and okay, so we've got an alien here, all right, and so on and so forth. And we're going to see if we can draw a little stick alien here. We're going to make an assumption that he has, oops, where the heck's my line? We're going to make an assumption that says he's got 2 legs, 1 disconnected leg. He's got a couple of eyes and a nose, and he's a happy alien, okay? And he's looking, let's say that he's looking at this photon right here. Now, the new physics of 10 or 20 years ago, whatever, the new physics is claiming that when you observe something, that you are causing an effect of what you're observing. There was an experiment done with brine shrimp. A scientist took boiling hot water and or whatever, and he was going to kill these shrimp, and he had a plant set up. He had plants. He was monitoring the electricity from the plants to see if the plants would react to the brine shrimp dying because of the hot water or whatever. Well, he set this experiment up and he put it on a timer. His timer was set for like an hour, 45 minutes. I think what he did a double blind. He has this timer in front of him, and so he probably closed his eyes and he turned the timer to some point like 45 minutes or 47 minutes. He didn't know the exact instant that the water was going to go down and kill the shrimp. He didn't know that. So he walks away, he goes to a bar or something for at least an hour because he knows it's going to be that long. He comes back, and this is really crazy. He comes back, and I forget the scientist's name, and so he looks at the graph from the plant that he was monitoring, and he compares the time that the water killed the brine shrimp to the activity from the plant. Now, you would think that the plant would have reacted at the same time that the hot water killed the brine shrimp, wouldn't you? Well, the plant reacted all right, but it didn't react at the same time. As I recall, it reacted before the incident happened, where the water killed the shrimp. So not only did it react, but it reacted before it happened. And how did this plant know this information, you know? It's all about information. We are living in a world of information technology, and we're probably being beamed by our own governments with all these particles in space, and they're messing up our brains and trying to get us to talk to Chat GPT and glean all kinds of misinformation and so on and so forth, you know. I've been studying this stuff for like 50 years, and I'm building a project that has to do with light waves. And without really going into the nature of my project, I'm going to show you my workbench, which I just cleaned off, and then I'm going to call it a night for this particular stream. And somewhere here, there's a video capture somewhere. Yada, yada, where am I? Is it this one? What's that one? Where's my video? Right there. Huh. You're not really going to see me that well because that's just the way. I like it. Okay. What you're going to see back here is my lab. Now, tell me that I don't know nothing about electronics, because this is my pride and joy back here. I have not one, not two, but 3 oscilloscopes, okay? I have not one, not two, not 3, but I've got 4 generators. I don't know if you can see this one over here. Yeah, there's a generator down there. There's a generator up here, which I've cleaned and tested. There's a generator, actually there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 signal generators. They generate square waves, sine waves, triangle waves, any kind of wave you can think of. Oh, wait. Back up one. They generate particles, and the particles get together and have a party. And when we look at it in the scope, the particles tell the scope, "Hey, we're a wave. We're coming at you," on FM 91, channel 91. And I got voltmeters. I've got attenuators, and this attenuator that's up here, I really can't see it that well, but this attenuator is also my pride and joy. And it's what you do is you put a strong signal into the attenuator and use the attenuator to bring the signal down to like a low level. And then you run a signal with a noise, and you crank up the signal to a certain level, and then you set this attenuator. Once the attenuator is set to where you can just hear the noise, hear the signal from the noise, that's how you determine what's called signal-to-noise ratio of your system. I've got a bunch of stuff here. I'll just show you this crap here in a minute. Well, you can't really see it. It was my alien mug up there. In behind that, I've got three or four or five breadboards. A breadboard's where you put all kinds of electronic circuits on. I will show you. I've got tons and tons of capacitors, resistors, inductors, LEDs. This is a capacitor. Yeah. This is a big capacitor. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's like I've just got boxes and boxes. I've got meters. I've got everything that I need in order to do my project. I've got crystals. I've got this little setup here. Now tell me that I'm not organized. Because believe it or not, I'm not organized. These are various transistors and chips and LEDs and crap like that, you know? Good stuff. Cool beans, right? Yep. And then back over yonder on the further to the right over here, you can't see it. I've got all my books. Let me just go ahead and save this program here. We're going to save this as a JPG in my picture, and we'll call it just call it L-Wave. And then get rid of that out of my face. Yeah, so I've got tons and tons of circuits. I got all kinds of stuff. I'm building a semi-pressurized box. I suppose you could. I don't think you can. You really don't want to look at me, really, because I'm really nothing good to look at. But anyway, like back there's all my books, my book section. Yeah, this is my. Normally, I play guitar. I'm a musician. On this side over here, you can't see it. I've got 2 keyboards. I've got 1, 2, 3 mixers. I've got an equalizer. I've got effects processors. I'm going to be doing a music stream. Maybe tomorrow working on my effects processors because they're kind of messed up. So I'm trying to work on fixing that. I got an amateur radio over here sitting, antenna tuner. You know, this is my my man cave. Yeah, believe me, I got everything under the sun. Everything I need to do my project. So my project, basically, it's like this box. It's going to be like kind of a big box. It's going to have aluminum on the inside. It's going to have, I think, three or four large tubes that's going to connect to the box. The inside of the tubes are going to be lined also with very highly polished aluminum. One of the tubes is going to be highly polished copper. So I've discovered that copper is more effective in reflecting infrared, whereas aluminum does a good job with reflecting everything. So eventually I'll have a light coming in. I'll have a white light. I'll have different sources of light coming into the box. And I'm going to attempt to supercool the box down to minus 30 degrees centigrade. I want to supercool the box. I have to monitor the temperature, the humidity, the pressure inside the box, because originally I was thinking I want to put a vacuum in the box, you know, put a vacuum cleaner in there and clean it out. No, just a vacuum bring the pressure down. And then I was thinking, well, now wait a minute, that's counterintuitive to what I want to do. So if you have light traveling through a vacuum, it goes at the speed of light. It travels really fast. So if I want to slow down the particles, I could use a medium like water, or I could use crystals. Well, it just so happens that I have a small number of crystals. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this light go through various crystals, and the crystals are going to act like a light source. A light source will come in, the light source will hit the crystal, then there'll be a new light source coming out of the crystal. The crystal will go through the slits, maybe yes or no, I think they do. And what's going to happen is that I want the light to bounce all over the place inside this box, and I want the light's going to go back and forth between two DVDs or two gratings. So it's going to come through in maybe with the slits. It's going to hit on one side. It's going to hit the DVD, and it's going to bounce back off. So the DVD is going to act like the two slits. It's going to act like the diffraction grating. So it's going to go through, and then it's going to bounce back off into another DVD, which is in front of the gratings, or it might be at an angle, right? So that the colored lights coming off the first DVD, when they bounce back, they're going to come back at maybe a slight angle or something, so that they don't interfere with the slit. Or so. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm building and designing as I go. Originally, I thought, well, I wasn't thinking about the slits at all, because I was thinking running the light through the center of the DVD, and it bounces off this one, and they bounce back and forth. It's like a laser, sort of, but the power, of course, is a lot, it's pretty low. But I'm going to use a fairly high intensity light, and I'm going to collimate the light. So earlier in the discussion about coherent light, what it does is it kind of makes the beam circular on this distance. It coalesces all the particles into a straight line. That's what I want to do. I think I have a collimator. A collimator is what does that. I think I got one. I'm not 100% sure. If I don't, well, I got a whole crap load of lenses and stuff. Maybe I can make one. Who knows? That'll be a light project that I'll do on the bench over here. So these colored beams are going to be bouncing back and forth, and in the center, or at some point, the crystal is going to have access to all of the light, the colored light. I guess in a sense that the light that's coming out of the crystal is just going to give me information that's coming from the crystal. So you could say that the crystal's acting like a filter. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do as far as a crystal, because I've got quartz crystals, I've got geodes, I've got this very small type of a stone that's got a lot of little shiny stuff in it. It's like, I don't know what it is, but it's got a lot of shiny stuff in it. I like stones with a lot of little shiny dots in it for some reason. Now, I believe that I'm getting my information from sources unknown. My cup back here might allude to that information, but we won't get into that. I'm not that crazy, but yeah, I am. So we've got this light that's bouncing around, and it's going to reflect off of a geode or something that it's going to do something with these particles. Like, I want the particles that's bouncing back and forth, the colored ones, the colored photons, I want them to reflect either off an object or off of a mirror. There's different things that's going to happen. The first thing that's going to happen is called the standardization of the calibration of the equipment. So I'm going to calibrate the equipment first with no other external forces. the pressure is going to be at a certain level, the temperature, the humidity. Hopefully, I'm hoping that when I cool down the inside of this container absolutely has to be colder than it's got to be at least 10 degrees colder than my room temperature. If my room temperature is like 50, okay, and so getting that to be colder has got to be no problem, right? But I got to do it in such a way that it doesn't create a lot of conflict with what I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Peltier device with a heatsink. I'll put the heatsink on the outside, the Peltier device on the inside, and probably, actually, I might, yeah, I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put that Peltier device. But that's what's going to use to cool down the temperature. And I've got to have something inside the container to attract the moisture. And so I had a thought about that today, actually. I've been planning this for like years. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a device that has maybe 1,000, 10,000 volts or whatever, just nothing serious, just a very low current, high voltage device with it's attached to a piece of metal that's just kind of hanging out. And what that metal is going to do, it's going to attract all the moisture particles, and that's what I'm hoping. And it will drop the moisture particles into a container and send it by gravity out of the enclosure. So that's the thing I have to do. Then I'm going to have a pressure pump running a mostly closed loop system to circulate the air inside the container and get it so that it's going to be a system is what it's going to be. And the temperature will be low, the humidity will be hopefully zero. All of that stuff has to come to equilibrium. And I'm thinking it's going to take several hours for that to equalize. And then I don't know, exactly, like I've got a compressor that I can use to drop the pressure, and then I'm really hoping about this Peltier device and cooling that down. I don't know yet. Anyway, so we got this stuff happening, and then what's going to happen is that the light waves are going to hit a mirror, and the mirror is going to send out information to either the tube that has the copper in it or one of the tubes that has the aluminum. They're kind of small tubes. They're like this. And I may use, outside I discovered some thermos bottles that they're heavy. They've got aluminum inside of them, and they're insulated. And I was thinking I might use one of those and attach it to my box, my container, and put one of the electronic transducers inside of that to send the electrical, it converts the light data to electrical data and sends that off to my computer, wherever it's going to go to figure out what to do, number one. Number two, I think I'm going to use a spectrometer. I don't particularly need to, but I'm thinking I'm going to build a spectrometer and send that through another tube. I'm going to have a night vision camera inside of the containment field. I'm going to have, I think I'm going to have a tube that goes in that I can put smoke in there. And I'll probably just use incense. I'll burn some incense and send that in there. And I'll have it set up so that I'll have, you know how in the radio, right, when you tune a radio and you've got the carrier, I was explaining about the carrier, you move the carrier back and forth until it hits something, and once it hits something, it's going to collect audio information. that's basically what I'm doing. Is I've got a complete enclosure that's in the dark. That well, until the light goes in, there'll be all kinds of light in there. Um, and I've got to build what I would call a lighthouse. I've got to build a something in there that creates a certain kind of a field that would attract certain types of energy. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to go into any detail, okay? We don't need to go into any detail. You know how you have a radio? Well, in order to pick up the radio stations, you got to have an antenna, right? Okay, you get the idea. So there's that aspect of it. And so what I'm going to have is I'll have two or three. I'll have it set up so that I can change my light sources, number one. Number two, I've got probably about $300 or $400 worth of light filters. I may be able to get video information. Now, that part I don't know yet. I'm thinking you can actually take audio waves and you can convert them to a video picture. Either way, I think the audio is a good way to go. If I were to look at something of a higher frequency, video frequencies are around 3.58 megahertz. I've got crystals that can operate at that frequency if I add that frequency to a light wave tuner and tune the light wave back and forth across the band and modulate it at that video frequency. That would be shit, let me tell you. Because if I were to pick up a video wave from a light wave carrier coming from someplace unknown, that would be just okay, you know. So I'm going to start with like audio waves. I'm going to start with noise. I'm going to investigate the different kinds of noise that you get from the different colors of the light wave band at different temperatures. My goal is to measure and record the light wave content of the containment field that has the light split into its different colors. Okay, I want the light wave split into different colors because I believe that's going to give me more information. It's almost like when I was explaining before about the SDR, the software defined radio, that looks at an entire band of frequencies. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm using a mechanical means of amplifying the light waves first. That's the best thing you can do. If you just look at a light wave that's not split into its different colors, the noise is going to be so strong that you're never going to be able to get any information from it. It's impossible. And so my idea is to split the light wave into its different colors, let the colors bounce around, have a little party, and then listen to the group of colored light waves, number one. Number two, have a light wave carrier go in and modulate. I might be able to modulate a 1 kilohertz signal, or I can collect the colored light waves directly. I don't like that idea as well. However, I've discovered that I can take LEDs, and in case you don't know what an LED is, it's these little guys right here. You've got these, I don't know if you can see them that well. Yeah, right there. See the little white ones? Well, those white ones, I think the white ones are IR, infrared. But you got red ones, you got green ones, you got different colors. You also have what's called optocouplers, but they don't see the light itself. I can turn these LEDs into light receivers. And so, but they'll only pick up the light wave at that frequency. I do have white LEDs, I think. They will pick up all of the light waves of the different colors. But like I said before, it's better just to um, pick the color of the LED itself and go through each band. It would be nice if I could do that. I got the infrared LEDs to pick up infrared, but for some reason, I'm thinking that I'm going to collect the best information from the ultraviolet section. And why do I say that? I'll tell you why. So, um, the infrared represents a very hot temperature. It's like, they've got these hot lamps that keep your food warm. Those are infrared. They're very hot. Well, the fact of the matter is that when you have something that's hot, it creates noise. The noise is just very, very large with hot temperatures. So that's a problem. So I don't think, even if there was something there, I don't think I could measure it anyway. But you never know. I'm going to try everything. I think my best bet is towards the ultraviolet section, which is more difficult because the wavelengths are narrower, and to try to access that end of the band, I got a you know what? I had a black light. I had a screw-in black light. I got a green bulb, and I had a screw-in black light. I swear I had one. I bought another long one, but it's a long fluorescent UV light. I might be able to build something around that, build a piece of aluminum around that, and try to focus that UV out of that fluorescent bulb. I have no idea. Or I don't want to put that whole light bulb inside the container. That's not going to happen. Unless if I had a way I could shove part of it. If I built the container so that I could get that, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, there's a light bulb. I could put a light socket in there. I would have to have a way to control the intensity of the light, and unfortunately it would be only at one frequency. I could probably, I have this book. I got this really, really thick book. It's like this, but it's really short. And this book has, I don't know, must have 2,000 or 3,000 pieces of thin plastic film, and each film has a color rating. It's a filter. They're filters. And so I might be able to use filters to filter out the UV light to a certain frequency in the UV range, and use that filter, use the output of that filter as the source, but it's not a tunable source. And that might actually work. That might work, but I don't know how I would control. I've got to have some way of controlling the light intensity. They got light dimmers. In fact, I got a light dimmer in my house, but I don't want to take it apart. I could get a light dimmer, hook it up to the UV light and that light socket, and I can put in whatever light I need. I could drop the intensity down with a dimmer, and then put the filter in, and then try different filters. So I would have, let's say I got the box, I got the UV light is in the center. Maybe it's in the center on the bottom. And then I would have the filter I'd have a slot that comes out, and I could put a card inside the slot and use the filter to filter out the because what that filter does is it filters out all the other light that's in the system. And just popping that filter in and out is not going to drastically change the temperature or the pressure or anything else in the system. I think that would work. I think that's a hellacious idea. I wasn't even going to talk about that. But yeah, so you got particles, they're bouncing around. Each particle, each photon has information. And so my idea about this experiment has to do with space, it has to do with time, it has to do with electromagnetic fields. I just read about a experiment where if you take a solenoid or an electromagnet, you power up the electromagnet, okay, inside a light field. And so the electromagnet will condense all of the magnetic information into the magnet. And there'll be a very weak electric field that is produced around. So electric field, like you get this magnet, right? And okay, so everything, the magnetic field goes around and it coalesces inside of the magnet. But on the outside of the magnet, you get this weak electric field. And what I was reading is that when the photon passes through an environment that has this particular weak electric field, it reacts in such a way as it creates what's called non-local interference. And what they said, what it does is it reacts to what's called electric potential. And the electric potential, although it's related, like this could be the, where's my thing? This is my finger, right? This could be the electric field on the top of my finger. And over here, there's some kind of reaction happening. There's a noise thing. And so the electric field, it may have these little lines that come out and everything, but from what I was reading, the intensity of the lines is like when you go from here out to, by the time it gets out to here, you cannot read the electric field. There's nothing there. But when there's a photon traveling somewhere out here and something happens, some bit of noise happens, and it doesn't happen anywhere else, but it happens in this one little spot, it's reacting to what's called an electric potential that is created in a non-local sense. And like the electric field is just kind of floating around here, but this electric field it's also sending out particles. Maybe it's sending out electrons. I don't know. If it's an electric field, you would think that there's electrons in there, right? Magnetic field, whatever the heck's going on, photons, whatever. There's particles. And so these particles has information. The photons have information. And depending on whether they're plus or minus or the direction. So like what I do is I'll take what's called a toroid, which is a round circle like this. And I'll take the wire. The wire is going to go, let's say it goes clockwise around the coil. And so it goes outside the coil in, let's say, this is my coil, right? It goes in this direction. So it goes this direction, it comes back out this way, all right? So it goes clockwise like this around in a circle around the toroid. So it's forcing the electric field to go in that direction from left to right. And so what happens is that the photons will they said that the photons will get accelerated through the magnetic field, and there'll be a phase change. They just discovered this, or this is just something that they were playing with, and they discovered with the light bands will shift, like the little three things that I showed you on a little green thing. That light band it'll shift a little bit. It'll be out of phase. And so I'm thinking to myself, I may have a way to force the direction of the, because in this direction here, on this side, they'll be going in that direction. On the other side, they'll be going in this direction. Or I have this toroid set that's on the other side. Maybe I've got to have two coils set up because I want the coils. I want the photon action to go in one direction, and maybe I can discover some noise artifacts. That's sort of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for signals in the noise that will give me information about something. I can change the level of the field and see if it interacts with, I can have a sensor. I could have, let's see, it's going to be a light sensor. You can use solar cells. You really can't use the cadmium cells because the response is too low. So there's the LEDs. I think the LEDs would work really good. I'll file off the top of the LED, change that into a light receiving transducer, and that I can amplify into a whetstone bridge, run that into an FET, run the FET into an op amp, and lo and behold. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm wondering if I can have it so that if I could move the LED, let's say on the outside, let's say because my setup's going to be square or cubical, somehow I'd have to be able to move the LED transversely like this, and it will pick off light information that's going perpendicular to the direction of travel of the light. Light waves are electrical in nature and vertically polarized, so I would have to put the LED on top, I think, and run it, I'd have to be able to run it along. I guess it wouldn't matter. That's the other thing I could do. I did one other experiment with light, and something happened, and I couldn't explain it. And this was like 5 or 10 years ago. It scared the living crap out of me, like, what the heck, And so I think what I'll do is I'll have one LED on the top of the system. The system forces the photons to go from left to right, and I can move this LED back and forth. And I'll have another one on monitoring. So the top one's going to monitor the vertical polarization, and the one on the side will measure the horizontal polarization. Now, somewhere in between, I'm not going to be able to do that because I got a square container. It's just too complicated. But I think that would work. I think that's a cool idea. And at the beginning, once I could do a prototype, I could do a small prototype and just I got this tube, I got a round tube, I could put the CDs on both ends, run the light through, and I could drill a hole, put the LEDs in, and I could put a small electromagnet in the bottom, and then have that running. Yeah, I could do a prototype, couldn't I? That's not pressurized. Whatever. I don't know. Who knows? I'm talking too much. I'm blurting out too much information here. Oh, the particles are just spewing out right there. Yeah, right. So, when you look at this, well, this is a CDR. Is this a DVD? This is a compact disc. Compact discs have 600 lines per millimeter or centimeter or something. I forget. So you can see as you look at the LED, what the hell is it doing? You can see the colors, okay? Pretty cool, right? What the heck is going on? Oh, it's seeing the crap that's on my computer. So you can see the colors in there, right? Pretty cool, yeah? So someone said, which I didn't know actually, so you can take the end of the CD and you take a razor blade and you cut the edge off. Okay, I don't know why they would cut the edge off. Um, the idea is to put duct tape on top of the label and peel the label off so that you can actually see through the DVD, which is something I didn't know about. And so it just so happens that I must have, I don't know, 300 or 400 DVDs, blank ones. Um, Another really cool thing that just popped into my head, wouldn't it be cool if I had a music CD on one end, a blank CD on the other end, and if I was able to move that CD or even spin it around, if I spun the CD inside the container, right? What would happen to photons bouncing off of that CD? Now, they use light sensors, but yeah, I got some DVD players kicking around, don't I? That don't work. I gotta pull them babies apart and take that sensor out. Maybe that's something I can use. And my refrigerator's talking to me. I hear you. Pool table's talking to me. I gotta play some pool. That's the story of the photon, the information, and the Fourier transform, and particles, photons coalescing into Fourier transforms that are filtered out using various filters and amplifiers to give you the information that the photon had to begin with. Uh, that's it. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, now we got LED TVs with the little dots. It's just crazy how all the information that you get on these TV screens now. I don't even want to think about it. I can't explain it. I don't know how that crap works. It's just crazy. Like you got these big screens with the computer, and it's got all these little things that's over. It's too much information. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Photon, go away. Go away. One of them looks like a pick. It's Reaper. It's my Reaper um, digital audio workstation. Yep. That's the story of the photon and the nature of light, and I'm done with the stream. I hope it's been enlightening. As you can see back here, I've got a major setup, and it's clean. I sorted out some stuff. I found some treasures. I found this light bulb. Look, it's kind of dirty. I found this dusty light bulb right here. We'll have to find some sockets for that. I found out that I got a bunch of these little light bulbs, not the big one, but the little one. And I've got to develop holders. I got some holders for them. They had all kinds of integrated circuits. I can go analog to digital, digital to analog. I've got a bunch of crystal circuits up there. I got everything I need. Yep. What's this thing here? I got some ferrite stuff with some wires in it. I'm going to put one of them babies in there. What is this? Ow, my finger got stuck in there. What the hell is this thing? Delco radio. Is this a bunch of these? No. What is this? I'll show you this little guy right here. I got a bunch of these. These are They're power transistors. They handle lots and lots of current. And I'm going to use that. See right here. This is a power transistor. I'm going to use that to build my ultrasonic machine. What the hell is in here? What is this? There's something in here in this box. I don't know what it is. Oh, this is my thermistors. What the fuck is this? Caution. MCA insulation. Caution. I don't know what that is. There's something inside there. It might be, I don't know what the hell that is. Is that a needle? Yeah, that's stapled together. That odd. I got old stuff, man. I also have a bunch of thermistors, which I'm going to calibrate and use inside the enclosure. And of course, my eyesight is not good. DTS 411 transistor. Is that what this is? Oh yeah, it is. It's a brand new 6941. Brand spanking new. Never been used. In a box. How cool is that, huh? Yep, I'm done. I'm going to play some pool and have a little snack. And yep, that's my lab back here. And eventually we'll do some electronics tinkering. I got to build my piezoelectric cooler. I got to build my light sockets for the little light bulbs that I got. I've got to work on the LEDs. I've got to make LED receivers and transmitters. It'd be really cool. You know what I could actually do? Let me just pop up a website here. Now let me see. What I'm looking for is a UV LED. Let's go UV LED Amazon, because I get my crap from Amazon. I should just go to Amazon UV LED. Featured, low to high. I could probably see my face now. Ultra bright 3mm round, water clear. What? Yellow, blue, white, red. What? You can change the colors? Ultra bright 3mm round, water, clear, green, yellow, blue, white, red, UV 395 nanometer. Blue, 100 pieces. What, you gotta buy 100 pieces? Wait, what? You don't get 100 of these for $2. Okay, they're individual colors. Oh, this is red, green, blue. Slow flash. This is 100 pieces? Are you freaking kidding me? For $2? What's yellow? They've got a UV LED at 395 nanometers. 100 pieces for $2? Wow. Yeah, I think I'll be ordering. I think I'll be ordering these LED. Well, these are 259. There's a blue one, but it doesn't tell me the wavelength, which is no big deal because I can figure that out from a spectrometer. 3 to 3.2 volts, 20 milliamps for most color LEDs, 1.2 to 2.2 DC 20 beam angle, 25, 30 degrees, yada, yada, yada. Water, clear LED, higher quality and smaller. See more product details. Measurements. Number of light sources, 100? You've got to be freaking kidding me. Huh. Those are not the surface mount LEDs. Those are just regular. What's this one? This is a 10-piece LED for $3. UV flashlights. Yeah, I don't want that crap. 100 pieces super bright 5mm round UV lamp LEDs 5mm. Those are larger for 347. 800 to 1000 MCD. For 100 of them. For $3.47. I don't need that many. Huh. Oh, I've got to order these. What the heck is coming from China? This stuff probably come from China. Let's see, details. It cost me $6.49 to deliver it. J-Tong Direct, yeah. Comes from China, I think. Yeah, I can't even read the address. That's crazy. What about, let's see. What if they got one at 200? Yeah, I don't think so. That's what it says. UV LEDs. These are 800 to 1000 MCD. That's like bright, I guess. I don't know what these other ones here. This is 10 pieces. Oh, wait a minute. This is the holy crap. 3 watt, 5 watt, 10 watt. These are like the super bright, high power UV LED diode chips. $10 pieces, 1 watt for $3. Oh, these are LEDs. 10 watt LEDs. I don't need that much power. That one goes down to 365. SMD, super bright, UV. These things are selling for cheap. Let me just look at this real quick here. I want to look something else up too real quick. What does it say? 3.6 watts incandescent, 50 watts. Yeah, I can still get those other ones. Super bright LED, 3.6 watts voltage. It doesn't say anything about the current. I want just regular LEDs. I don't need power. I don't need that much of a bright light source because that would be too much noise. I want to look up one more thing and I got to call it quits here. Let's see. Variable color LED. You got these lighting strips. LED lights controller. Oh, this is a USB. What is this? This is $4. $50 pieces. Round diffused. Yeah, I don't want a diffused light. This is like a flashlight. It's got the little buttons on it. 10 keys, RF 17 keys, RF 24, yeah. IR wireless remote control for 12 to light strip controller. That's a light strip controller. Oh, I see. That's not what I thought it was. It's a light strip control. Well, I've got a light strip, but it broke. RGB, that's all it is. Anyway, yeah, I'm done. What else is that here? Is there like anything else? Smart ceiling. Ceiling, I don't want that crap. LED light controller, LEDs. 100 pieces, clear LED, emitting, RGB, multicolor, common anode diode, multicolor LED. I don't want multicolor. Motor portable USB laptop, light flexible stick. Don't know what that is. A regular light bulb, 6 watts. 16 color. Oh, there's those light bulbs. Ooh, now wait a minute. This might be interesting. Module RGB LED with independent color control, 6 pieces. That's electronic, which is smaller. I might be onto something here. They got these big light bulbs. RGB module. They got a dimmable RGBW color 500 lumens, 16 color changing modes, yada yada yada. There's a bunch of colors, but I wonder if it just them ones are a little more expensive. Customer reviews for this product. Yeah, that's just changing. I want something, I'm looking for something that's variable. Like, instead of just switching, you know? I'd have to use a filter. Or if I used another white light as a second source, and then I'd have to use those filters. And then if I can pick up something off the filters, I can narrow down. I'd have to do it manually. It's like with a switch, you know? Um, let's say there's a noise at the red frequency or something. So I'm going through the major colors, red, green, blue, yada, yada. I hit yellow, and actually, like, I might be able to hear a difference before I can see a difference. So let's say I change it to yellow, and I hear something, okay? Then I would have to go through and change all of those yellow colors to see if I can narrow down where the best noise signal is from the front end. It's the very front end. And then once I get that, and I know what that frequency is, I would have to take another light source. Oh wait. No, I'm receiving that. Then I would take another light source, put that same filter. No, wait, would have to be. I don't know how to do it because it wouldn't act as a tuner. The diffraction grating. The diffraction grating's a tuner. So what you do is you do the second light source against the diffraction grating, and what you do is you take the diffraction grating and you go like this. You move the diffraction grating against the source that you're listening to. And I would have to determine at what angle. Like say I may have a crystal inside or something. I try different crystals. Okay, I pick something up, and then I go through the filters, figure out where that is. Then I would take, okay, so this light's coming through, let's say it's coming through this way towards me. And then I would have to take the diffraction grating with a second source of light going, I could go, if I went parallel, no, if I went perpendicular, it may not interact with that light beam because it's coming in vertically polarized. So it would have to be either on the bottom or it would have to be on the side. I could have an output source, and then I could have diffraction gratings on the bottom. I could have them at right angles, like I was going to do with the LEDs. And I can have them to be able to turn like this. The light comes in. The light comes in either this way or it comes in this way. I'd have to have two light sources of the same, and then the diffraction gratings, which is the DVDs, and have them so that they're adjustable like this. Yes, I can do that. Oh my God in heaven. That's freaking crazy. That's crazy. So I don't need this. I don't need these. But it would be interesting to get the UV LEDs. Where the heck did I go here? I mean, I could probably, they got different colors. What is this one here? 395. One of them was 365. Those are all 395. Wait, let me just put down LED. You know, talking about this is going to be a problem here, Eight channel RGB, 8 USB lights, mini glass bottle. light looking for stuff on here. What is this? 6 colors. White, red, yellow, orange, green, blue. This is $10, but they don't give you... let's see here. Is that coming from Daytong? The EEE shop? What the hell is that? 70 pieces? 70 pieces. 6 colors. 10 types. Six colors. What is this? 10 types. 180. Standard. Dual components. Do-it-yourself kits. Low power, high brightness. Etc. They don't give the red, yellow, orange, green, blue, white. That's only 6. Red, green, yellow, blue, orange. Oh, it's red and white. Green. $180. Holy. What about the color? It doesn't give you the nanometers. That one's got wires on it. $301 pieces, $12. Let's get in some specs here if I can find it maybe. It's like 2 shades of red, 2 shades of green. There really isn't a blue one in that mess. I'll just look at it later. Yeah. That was fun. Oh, what's this video?
All right, I'm using a CR32 battery. The negative side is this side. And of course, there's a plus on the other side. Anyway, the long lead.
Oh my God, you know what he's going to do? Well, yeah, CR2 2032 is like 3 volts. I tried a 9 volt. Other batteries may work, but when I tried a 9 volt, the bulb fried. Of course it fried, you idiot. They only run on a couple of volts, and you're supposed to use a current limiting resistor.
The long lead that you see here, the longer side is the positive side. So if you take your 2032 and you put the positive side on the longer side, and you just press them together, and look at this. You get, this is the diffused one. No, it isn't. This is the clear one. And if we get an orange one, these are wonderful, by the way. I'm using them for pedals. But now we get a diffused one. And you see that's an orange one. Again, we're going to take the longer side. The longer side goes to the positive side. And see that?
Yeah,
these are perfect for guitar pedals.
Oh, guitar pedals. Oh, the dude makes, he makes guitar pedals. I'm a musician, so, you know, not too bad. Anyway, yep, I'm on here too long. I want to shoot some pool. I gotta get out of here. I'm done with the stream. It was interesting. My project, I gotta build bits and pieces of it. I learned some stuff about, more stuff about the design of my project, which is pretty cool. Being able to take the diffraction grating and turn it. I've got to have a very sensitive turning mechanism. The reason for that is to mix. Yeah, it's like tuning a radio. That's what I didn't think of before. I saw that in another video where they were tuning that in order to see the entire spectrum or whatever. But I wasn't thinking about doing that to actually tune into, like I was talking earlier about the carrier wave, okay? So what that does is it's sending the particles that are coming through on that output side, they're going to be of a certain wavelength. And I want to be able to mix the same wavelength with that so that you get some in different frequencies. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it at minus 30 degrees C if I can do it. If I can get it cooled down as much as I can and get the as if I can super cool that environment. I don't care about the pressure. Like I can bring the pressure down a little, but that's a little bit. It's something, and then yeah, clean that chamber. That'd be cool. I mean, they only have. I wonder if they've got. Let me see something here. UV. I wonder if they got a UV laser. Polar camel. UV laser. Oh, they don't. I just use LED. That's all I need to do. I can file the top of it off and I'll have, wow, cool. Yep, that's what it is. We're done. Interesting topic tonight, huh? I'll be back in a little bit. Now I'm going to shoot some pool.